Chapter 12. Sam was thankful that the chaos was over when Jazz finally returned her to the medbay. The twins were nowhere to be seen, and Ratchet cleaned some medical tools off to the side, humming to himself. Bluestreak and Bumblebee were lying on their fronts on the floor, legs in the air, and doing something that reminded Sam of coloring. They had little blue pads laid out in front of them with several colorful pens to the side that they were sharing. It was a cute, quiet activity. With a little smile, Sam made her way through the medbay. She came to a stop next to Ratchet, watching his calm, steady movements. Nothing happened for a few seconds, but after Ratchet finished the tool he was on, he put it down and turned towards her. "Sam, is something the matter?" He gave Sam a small smile, compassion and kindness in those alien blue eyes. "Ratchet, I have some questions. Do you think you could help me?" She hoped she wasn't bothering him. "Of course. Why don't we sit over here?" Ratchet gestured over to the small waiting area he had in the corner of the room near the door. It was only composed of 4 soft chairs and a small table, but it was something, and it looked comfortable. It wasn't used a whole lot, though. "What do you want to know?" Ratchet grunted as he settled into one of the chairs. Sam plopped down in the chair across from him and made a small pained noise as her wings caught on the back of it. She kept forgetting those were there. "Jazz took me to go see the gardens, and there's a statue there, in the fountain." Sam started while rotating her wings to ease the sting there. "Yes, I've seen it," Ratchet nodded. "I saw that same statue in the building I hid in when I first got here." She lowered her voice, trying to make certain that only Ratchet heard. "Yes?" He frowned, brow furrowing, not understanding what she was getting at. "Who is that?" She leaned forward a little. Ratchet blinked slowly and gaped at her. "You don't know—" He stopped himself. No, that makes sense. I keep forgetting you weren't created here." "Yeah, no, I don't know," she affirmed. "Alright, so, do you have—" Ratchet struggled. "A creator where you come from? Like a parent?" The translation into this new language was still difficult for Sam. Some of their words just didn't mesh with her knowledge of English. Some things didn't translate over right, or in some cases at all. No, Ratchet shook his head, leaning back a little more in his seat and grumbling under his breath. "A being who is responsible for creating the first of your kind." "Oh!" Sam lit up, grasping the concept he was laying down. "Yeah, we have something like that. God." Ratchet stared at her blankly like he was struggling to comprehend what she had said. That didn't surprise Sam. It probably didn't translate to his native tongue well either. "Right." The medic slowly nodded. "Well, we have something like that. That's who that statue is. Primus, our creator, the one of light and life, who manages the Well of Allsparks." "Alright." That was easy enough to grasp. Sam pondered for a moment. One question answered, several more filled its place, and something told her she was going to be here for quite a while. Well of Allsparks? Sam figured it was best to follow this rabbit hole first. "It's where those who are worthy, I suppose, go after they offline." Poor Ratchet was struggling to find his words here to explain what it was in a way that she would understand. "Like heaven." Sam knew what offlining was, had already heard it mentioned and referenced. It was like death for the robots. It wasn't a hard concept to grasp. Yeah, sure, I guess?" Ratchet groaned, rubbing his head. "What are we called?" Sam felt bad for him, but was desperate for even the baseline of information she needed. It would help her blend in and survive. "What do you mean?" Ratchet lifted his head from his hand, confusion on his face as he studied her. "The species I was before was called human." Sam explained carefully. "What is our species, I guess, is what I should have asked." "Cybertronian. Our planet is called Cybertron." Ratchet nodded, looking relieved it was an easy one this time. It almost made her want to laugh. It was like a parent getting asked a bunch of questions by their 5-year-old child for the first time. "Do you have a second creator?" Sam struggled again. "No, what are you talking about?" Ratchet frowned again. "Say someone goes offline, but they aren't worthy of the Well of Allsparks. Where do they go?" She explained slowly, forming her thoughts as she spoke. "Oh," Ratchet chuckled. "We have a being of death and dark. Primus's twin brother, Unicron. He manages the pit." "The pit?" That sounded horrific. "Yes. It's a dark hole that sparks are tossed into, never to be seen again. They disappear inside, with no hope of escape or freedom." Ratchet nodded, pleased with his explanation this time. "That sounds horrible." Sam frowned. This sounded a lot like what she knew back on Earth, which brought up the question that was now bothering her. What happened when she died? What would happen to her? "It is." Ratchet nodded. "We have a book on it. Ancient texts, if you're interested. I can get you a copy." "That sounds nice. It'd help me understand this world a little better, I think." Sam nodded, feeling a sense of eagerness. "Can I also get some other books?" "Of course. What are you interested in?" "I don't want to bother you with all my questions, but I want to know more about how this world works. All the basic stuff, all the life here, how the gardens work." Sam was perched on the edge of her seat, feeling her wings wiggle back and forth a little with excitement. "What kind of planet did you come from?" Ratchet's brow furrowed, confused. "Never mind. I can ask you questions about that later. You need to fit in for now, and we can talk after you're more stable." He shook his head. "I'll get you the reading material. Give me till tomorrow." The medic reached out, patted her hand, and stood. "I'm sorry. I have some work. I need to get that done now." "Of course, Ratchet. Thank you so much." Gratitude swelled inside Sam. This meant more than she could ever show him. "Oh, and I've been doing a little research, but I don't think we'll be able to handle your situation on our own." The medic frowned down at her. "Are you okay with me getting some help on this?" Sam's chest seized a little. She stopped and took a breath. Ratchet wouldn't let anyone hurt her, not on purpose. He was a good man. If she could trust anyone, it would be Ratchet. And if she wanted to figure out what was going on, she would need to trust him. "I trust your judgment." "Good. I'm going to bring Optimus in on this too." Ratchet nodded, and Sam froze. "Optimus?" The thought of that noble, beautiful man had her flustering. Further, the thought of him knowing her secret made her nervous. What would he think of her? How would he react? She didn't know enough about him to make that call. "It's okay. Optimus is a good mech. He can help us get access to the resources we need." Picking up on Sam's nervousness and fear, Ratchet tried to reassure her and offer some level of comfort. "Yes, Sam couldn't find her words. "That's okay," she finally settled. "He won't hurt you, I promise." Concern furrowed the medic's brow and twisted his mouth into a frown. "I know," Sam shook her head. "It's not that." "Then what is it?" Ratchet stepped a little closer. "I don't know." She frowned and leaned back in her chair. Sam wasn't going to admit to her little crush on the Prime. "Regardless, it'll be okay." Ratchet looked like he didn't know what else to say. "I know." Sam's voice was soft and low. That was the end of it. Not because Ratchet didn't say anything, but because Bluestreak and Bumblebee had noticed Sam's presence. They bolted over and practically tackled her legs, chatting at the same time excitedly. Ratchet slipped away back to what he was working on while Sam giggled and started to sort through what they were saying and what they were trying to show her. Children were a wonderful way to completely forget whatever was going on. Deciding that now was as good of a time as any to start getting things together, Ratchet made his way to the door. He stopped and glanced back at Sam and the kids. They should be okay while he was gone, right? Right. It would only be for a groon at most, he figured. With a little nod, Ratchet made his way out of the medbay and into the hallway. He had spent so long on this base, he knew it like the back of his hand. It didn't take the medic long to make his way across to almost the other side of the building. It only took a few clicks for Ratchet to reach his destination. A door that matched all the others in the hallway, but the little tag beside it in Cybertronian identified it as the Prime's work area. He hesitated a moment. The last time he had personally gone to see Optimus had been quite a while ago and had resulted in a small argument between them about the war. While Ratchet would never admit it, It had entirely been his fault. He was too headstrong and stubborn. Optimus had been so patient, but Ratchet had been emotional, angry. He had apologized since then, but hadn't approached Optimus's personal space. The Prime was his good friend, but a little voice inside him told him he might not be welcome anymore. Ratchet took a deep breath. Sam needed his help. Ratchet? The medic startled and looked up from where he had been staring at the floor with a furrowed brow. He had spent too long thinking, and in that time the door had opened. Optimus stood on the other side, his own brows raised in question. Optimus. Ratchet nodded, hesitant. I'm sorry to bother you, sir. It's no bother, old friend. Come in, what troubles you? Stepping to the side, Optimus ushered Ratchet in, just like he had before their argument. Relief flooded the medic as he made his way in. He had overthought things, like usual, it seemed. Optimus shut the door and sat in a chair behind the large metal desk at the back of the room. Ratchet followed his lead, but stood standing, leaning against the desk with a hip and ignoring the perfectly good chair a short distance away. It's about our newest guest, Ratchet hedged. Ah, Sam, was it? Optimus leaned on his desk as well, propping his elbows up on the surface and folding his hands together. Yes. Is it just her, or does this concern the sparkling blue streak as well? No, just Sam. Ratchet shook his head, frowning. Now, how did he put this into words? All right. Is there something medically wrong? Concern flashed across Optimus's face. Something like that. Ratchet sighed and rubbed at his face with a hand tiredly. It's complicated. Then explain? Optimus coaxed him. This isn't going to make sense at first, Ratchet warned him, but this is what she told me. Slowly, Ratchet began to repeat the story Sam had told him, unraveling it slowly for his friend. It took more than a handful of clicks for him to tell. He stumbled and struggled at times, but Optimus stayed quiet, patiently waiting for him to finish. That is troublesome. Optimus only spoke once Ratchet had finished, frowning and leaning back in his chair, his arms falling across the surface of his desk. Yes, but it doesn't stop there, Ratchet shook his head. What do you mean? Sam's spark is unique. It isn't like any other I've ever seen. How so? Optimus leaned forward again, intrigued. It's hard to describe. I need more time to study it. Ratchet sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. I see. Optimus nodded. What do you recommend? I don't know. I don't even know where to start on this. But I think maybe we get Mirage and Jazz to start doing some recon on the side between missions? The medic was at a loss. Agreed. I will start digging through the ancient texts as well. Optimus nodded. I think I might be able to convince Red Alert to give me a hand. That reminds me. Sam is interested in learning more about our world. She has asked for certain books. Maybe you could ask her to give you a hand as well. Ratchet sighed. The more hands on deck, the better, especially with the war going on. Yes, I'll do that. Optimus sighed and stood from his desk, restless. Sam might not be the only one. That's very likely, Ratchet agreed, watching his leader. If Megatron finds out, there is no way this can end well. Yes, that's what I was thinking as well. We will have to be careful about who knows about this. We will also have to keep Sam safe. Optimus shook his head, distressed. Ratchet inclined his own head and frowned, brow furrowed. He could only hope they would find answers.